you to be classified as a human being, as somebody to be respected in the society. I'm a Yoruba man, and I know from childbirth we have been made to appreciate Western type of education. So how will you tell a child at 17 and 18 that the university is not made for you, or the College of Technology is not made for you, or the College of Education is not made for you? We are only trying to use that as a cover for the inadequacy on the part of government and our system to plan well and to take care of a child. Don't forget, and my child will always remind me of that part of the cardinal principles of governance is for governments to provide education for its citizens. And all of us here are well educated in the Western sense of education. So it's a failure on the part of government. It's a failure on the part of the system, and we need to thank private investors in the field of education for what they are doing. And these have been pioneered by the church. My own church, Methodist Church Nigeria, has a university, 4 seminaries, not to talk of secondary schools and primaries, to take care of the inadequacies caused by government, ditto private investors. So one of the things that we need to do is to make NISA, National Institute of Social and Economic and Research Center in Ibadan, to be functional, the Bureau of Statistics to be functional, from the local to the federal level. When registrations at birth are made, we begin to plan for new cities, new education centers, new places to take care of our children. Now, Nigeria is saying that we don't have enough in terms of research, but we need to go back to our schools. We need to ask our professors, how well endowed are they in the field of research? I remember in the 70s when you walk to libraries of the universities of Ibadan and Lagos, you find concurrent research made, conducted by our professors, and this research are of world-class standard. Today you hardly find in our universities professors doing this. So the issue is not the students are only reacting to what is on ground. That's why I say I empathize with them. They're reacting to our failures as a government, our failures as an institution, our failures as parents, in ensuring that in 6, 12, and 18 years' time, a child born today has been properly taken care of in the Nigerian state. In other words, the Nigerian state needs to wake up to our responsibility, which was in vogue in the 50s in the Western region, in vogue in the Lobo states of Lagos, Ondo, Oyo, Bendel, and Ogun State in the early 80s, where free and qualitative education was provided for, where planning in terms of where you will be in future was taken care of. And I think that gave back to several colleges of education and several colleges of technology and several state universities that we have today. While we may say Nigerian state have not done so much, we need to give kudos to our previous leaders, political leaders, who did a good measure of planning and preparing for tomorrow. Our present leaders are in doing that. And I think that is what has given back to several of these challenges we have in our institutions.
So, Josie, the state of our educational system, yes, we're talking here about the failure of government to meet the demands of the system, not enough planning, and then the infrastructure that is available is allowed to decay. Is it a question of neglect? How would I say it now? Or a question of or a question of ignorance, for lack of a better word to use? What would you say is the cause of where we are now?
Well, you know, you can rightly say neglect, and you can also talk of ignorance. But let me just go back to what happened in Abuja yesterday. The budget was passed, and I've not read the budget, but I learned from what I saw in the reviews, in the papers, that about 34 priority areas were put up by the government. And those 34 areas were compartmentalized into about 6 thematic areas. And I think part of the 6th area is education. I think health is also part of that. But the question is, going back to what Prof said earlier, the problem really starts from the planning, from the kind of mind that the government has about the importance of education in Nigeria. Whether we like it or not, education as a sector is the future of the nation. And we have to know that there is a need now to institute a kind of state of emergency in the educational sector of Nigeria. Whether we like it or not, there is a terrible decay in the system. There is a tendency for us to blame the students, to abuse the students for going on rampage. But like it was rightly said earlier, what happened in the institutions that led to their being closed up is a kind of a result of the kind of disconnect that has happened between the people and the government. There is a kind of terrible feeling about what is going on in the economy, in the social structure of the nation, and it is trickling down to the universities, where students do not have adequate facilities to exist in those universities. You expect them to come out and protest. I don't see anything wrong in protesting. To me, protest is a kind of socio-ideological instrument for periodic display of your displeasure with what is going on in the society. So if they protest, it is to make it better, because most of the students in the universities are also patriots. But there is a limit to which you can take your protest. I agree to that. You don't need to go on rampage. It is your right to say no to what you see as a kind of decay in the economy, in the political system, in everything that is going on in the country. So when they protest, it is a lesson, it's a message to the government that we are not feeling good about what is going on in the country. We can say the universities are producing half-baked graduates. But in a situation where the system out there, the kind of infrastructure made available, the kind of facilities made available is not enough for you to be able to get the best education you require, this is what is going to be the result: half-baked graduates. Now, the government has a very, very important role. It is not a situation where we begin to blame even the university authorities. They have a part to play, but they can only act upon what they have in the system, what they have in the universities. So if there is no enough facility for research, if there is no enough money being voted for research, what would they do? They are also people earning salaries. They cannot be spending their own salary on research. Imagine the situation where even students don't have money to buy books anymore. They depend on handouts.
But let me, if I'm becoming...
Handouts are just from the mind of the lecturer. The lecturers mostly bring out what they've, maybe a kind of little things they've got from the books, and then put them together and present to the students.
Mr. Josie,
the students don't have the power, the financial power, to go out there to and do for themselves, do more research for themselves beyond the handouts. So the government has to look at education as a very critical area now. There is a clear and present danger of our educational system going into total